Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with a Stay at Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo. Welcome back, everybody. And on this special bonus episode, I am going to be closing out Summer House Reunion Part 2, the saga of it all. I feel like the moments we were waiting for, the total closure with Carl and Lindsay, more of West beating around the bush with the whole Sierra thing, and I still am just so mad at him. And then at the end, we cut Kyle's mullet off. So let's just dive right into it. I'm apologizing in advance that I'm not having like my funny little sound bites because sadly my computer is just, I don't know what's happening with it. It's old and it had a virus and I feel like it has a virus again. So I am on my handy dandy little cute clip microphones that I feel like I need to post to my Instagram story, because if any of my fellow podcasters out there does stuff on the go, these are the cutest little things, and I feel like they're just as clear as my regular microphone that I use um, in my room. But I brought these down to me when I did my podcast with my friend in Florida, and they're good little travel things, and they're really cheap. But hopefully I'll get everything fixed soon. I'll probably just have to end up getting a new computer, which is so annoying, and then I'll have like the funny sound clips all over again. But let's just dive into it with Summer House. I felt like I needed to close out the season with its own episode because I'm going to have a guest on also for New Jersey. So I wanted to just do Summer House solo. So we get Sierra and West just wrapping up their talk, and that she basically still has feelings for him, and he said same. And it's like, well, then you're an idiot, because I just can't stand him saying he couldn't commit to her when it like seems like he did. After the show wrapped, I understand why she wanted to hold out, maybe sleeping with him for the show to wrap to make sure it was real. So I take everything back that I said and feel like I was like, she should just sleep with him. But now I understand. So as soon as the cameras went down, they hung out, went to weddings, she met the fam, and then he says he can't commit. Well, it seems like you were committed, and now you just want to be a sleazeball and see if people roll in the DMs. And I don't know why he was so concerned about people rolling in the DMs, because I still have to make my funny little video that I'm going to about him. I went on his TikTok and I saw him doing an ad for laxative capsules. So I don't think you have to worry about people flooding in the DMs when you're doing ads for laxatives. And I'm pretty sure Sierra's being like a supermodel and you're doing ads for laxatives. So there we go, West. And after this, I don't think anyone will flood in your DMs. You don't have to worry about it. But then they show a montage of Kyle and Amanda fighting throughout the season. Because I feel like sometimes we do like fixate on Carl and Lindsay, and they're like, oh, thank God they didn't get married because they just fought so much. And it's like, here we have Kyle and Amanda who are actually married and they're fighting like just as much. And it's like, how are you surviving? And now it's interesting seeing and hearing all the rumors that I talked about on my previous episode, my little gossip episode, because it's all alleged and it's all gossip, like I said, until it comes from the horse's mouth. But it was alleged that Kyle was hooking up with someone back in November when he was doing his DJ stuff. And I didn't really believe that. And Leva from Southern Charm slash Southern Hospitality has come out and said, usually I don't respond to stuff like this, but I had to shut this rumor down because it's pretty terrible. Um, she was, I don't know if Kyle DJ'd at her restaurant or somewhere down there and she just happened to like go. She said that there is no like firmness to this rumor, that it is just a rumor. And he was just simply talking to that one girl because they know her. And I guess he hadn't seen her in a really long time. So I don't know if this is someone, maybe even like he went to high school with. Like, you know what I mean? That would be just so like random. And you'd be like, oh my God, how are you? And you need to chat with them solo. So it is pretty shitty if people take pictures of people talking to the opposite sex and just we automatically assume he's like cheating on Amanda. But it was a red flag that she wasn't at Andrea's wedding right now in Italy because, like I said in the previous episode, she had a lot of time to plan. So I don't really know why she wouldn't go. It better be a really good reason. Um, I don't know. So she's not there. So I feel like that gave like the rumor a little bit of legs, and then that he was out to dinner apparently cheersing to his new divorce. I don't think he would be openly in public cheersing to his new divorce, and I don't think he'd be cheersing to his divorce because if anyone's leaving anyone, I think it'd be Amanda saying, I want a divorce, and he would be sad, and maybe she would be out cheersing, but not him. But I don't think they're splitting up, but it is interesting that they just like talked about all their fighting. And then Andy said a big misconception about this season was you guys were on the same page about moving to the burbs, but now it's like all of a sudden it's when you have kids. So he's like, please explain that. So Kyle's like, I just want to make it clear that I grew up in New Hampshire riding my bike in my neighborhood or on the street. So I definitely want to do that. But I want it to be when we have kids and they can ride their bikes. And it's like, he is so annoying because also I just have to say, and I think I've said it before, I know people have babies in cities, and it's like I'm not downing people that have babies in cities, but I feel like Amanda wouldn't want to wait till their kids are like old enough to ride bikes and then they move, because it's like I don't think she really wants to have a baby in New York City and handle that. And maybe she doesn't even want to be like waiting until they have kids, because it is so difficult to move with kids. So we had a house, and then we moved into our house that we are currently in with like a 1.5-year-old. That was good enough for me. But we have a 6 and 3-year-old right now. I literally couldn't imagine moving. Not only could I not imagine packing all our stuff up because I'm not Kim Kardashian having people do everything for me. We did have movers, and we definitely would do that again, but like I packed all of our stuff. I couldn't imagine moving with kids right now. So I don't think Amanda wants to wait until they have a bunch of kids and then move, because also it's like she probably doesn't even want a baby in their apartment. So I have a friend currently that's like going through that kind of debacle. She lives in a like townhouse-esque type thing, and they want to move, and they only have one kid. So I don't think she would be wanting to be in an apartment with a kid and waiting until they could ride a bike to move. Like she wants to get the heck out of there now, and the baby's almost 1. So I just feel like Kyle and Amanda are never on the same page. So it is shocking to me they've even made it this far. And then they were just kind of touching on how Amanda was emotionally checking out this season. And she said that she was just feeling depressed, and she gets why Kyle felt alone in the relationship, because she felt alone. And I thought that was really nice that she shared that. She said depression does run in her family. She said depression not only is like something that happens and it's not like you can put a pin in it and that's why you're depressed. She said since it runs in her family, she could just randomly feel depressed, and that's how she was feeling. But she said she's feeling a lot better. She's on medication, she's in therapy, taking all the right steps. So I thought that was good. But then Andy kind of gets into Sierra telling Amanda that she had no identity outside Kyle. And Andy's like, do you regret saying that? Or like, do you feel like you were mean? She's like, maybe like it sounded like I was harsh, but I didn't really feel like Sierra was harsh. She was being nice. She wasn't using it like against Amanda. She was telling her as a nice friend. And Sierra's like, I just feel like, we always see you talking about Kyle or Loverboy, and like that's fine and great. And I love Kyle too, but it's like, I'm asking you about yourself, or I want to know what you want. And the bathing suit line was a great part of what she wanted, but obviously Kyle like flipped out and was like, Loverboy is like losing money right now. I can't afford for you to like step back and, as he's called it, take a passion project on. So then they showed the little clip of like him freaking out with Danielle and Carl alone in the back yard. And he's like, oh, great. Now all of a sudden my wife wants a passion project. How about I just start DJing and like give up on Loverboy? Well, now fast forward and come to find out Kyle is DJing. And that's where we got this like little picture back in November. He was at a little DJing thing. And Amanda said that he has all his DJing equipment. He goes to New Jersey once a week to take DJing lessons, and he goes out and does these DJ gigs. So it's like, riddle me, Kyle. You think Amanda has no time to do a bathing suit line that will be good for her mental health and also just good for something for her to do. And if, and hopefully it's successful, money for both of you. So she doesn't have time to do that. And you always bitch that you have no time except Loverboy. You have no time to like breathe, basically. You all of a sudden have time to go DJing and go to take lessons. Sorry. I'm heated, so I'm getting tongue tied. Lessons once a week in New Jersey. It's like, what the hell? We have one DJ in the Bravo universe, and it's DJ James Kennedy, and he doesn't need to take lessons because he is a DJ. Because I also find it annoying that it's like you have to take lessons to be able to DJ, and I bet like his stuff is kind of pre-recorded or like he's having help of people or obviously help of these lessons. So it's like if you can't go out and do these DJ appearances kind of on your own and you have to take lessons, then don't do it. That was just really annoying for me to hear. But Amanda said she does want to still do something for herself. She doesn't know if it's going to be the bathing suits or something else. So I feel like that's probably losing Kyle too, because it's like she's not like a type A personality like him saying, no, I'm destined to do bathing suits. This is what I want to do. Like, she doesn't even know. Her and Carl are kind of like the same. They don't really know. Like, they want to do something for themselves, but they don't know what it is. But then they bring up Jesse Solomon's song, and they all kind of sing it. And Andy just kind of goes into, did you know Paige was a taken woman? And he's like, yeah, I knew. And then they do the leg touch heard around the world. She's like, yeah, like he touched my leg at a club. And immediately I was like, you can't do that. And he's like, I would just like to point out that Paige has touched my leg like 5 or 6 times since we've been here. And they did a montage of all the times she's like just delicately tapped his leg. And then as they're like going into that, she taps his leg and he's like, see, number 7. And then there's even like an arrow and it says number 7. So I thought that was funny. I didn't like Jesse at the beginning of the season. Now I like him and I don't like West. That's my consensus basically. And then Andy was like, do you think if you got to the house first before West that you would have hit on Sierra and you would have been hooking up with Sierra? He's like, oh no, I never think about that. And then he's like, yes, I do. I think about that all the time, literally. And then I was like, wait, that's kind of weird. I didn't even think about that because I kind of forgot that he showed up late. And Sierra was like the only single girl besides Danielle. And I feel like Danielle is like, not hooking up with anyone in the house. Like her brain is always like outsiders. Like, so it was just a no. And I feel like she's, I don't know, just has no interest in anyone coming in. So she's not even giving signals of like, oh yeah, let's hook up. So it was just Sierra. And yeah, Wes got on that right away. But maybe if Jesse would have got on it right away, we'd be sitting at the reunion different and we wouldn't be getting mad at somebody and saying, why'd you lead our girl Sierra on? Could have been a whole different spin. But then Jesse just talks about his cancer scare, and he said that he is glad that he could give like awareness. And he said the DMs that he got of support and all the comments were amazing. And he said he was just really emotional that one night, and he kind of went up and hid in his room when he got the scare, and he didn't want to like cry in front of everyone. But I feel like everyone was so supportive about all that, and we are glad that he is cancer free. But let's dive into the moment we've all been waiting for when Andy just talks way more and we dissect way more about Carl and Lindsay. Because I feel like we touched, obviously, a little reunion part 1, but this is what we were all waiting for, really dive into the deep stuff. So Carl said that he had just really felt like going into the summer, like at the very beginning, that they did have stuff to work on, but he did not think that it would ever escalate to how it did. And he said basically like the first night they were there. So they weren't there the first weekend because they were at the White House at the 4th of July like picnic. So they came the second weekend for everybody, but that was their first weekend. And it's like their first weekend and they couldn't even get along. And that was when Lindsay dropped the cocaine Carl night. So Lindsay just said she feels that Carl is very dismissive of her feelings, and Kyle steps right in. So I'm wondering if like Carl was like timid to really lash out at Lindsay, even though he got out what he needed to say, but I feel like he didn't dive in more. But Kyle's probably like, I don't care. I hate Lindsay anyway, and I'll let you take a back seat, because I feel like Carl got so much flack in the media with all this. And that's what they also said as well, that like they feel like Lindsay really spun her PR web of lies to make Carl look like the bad guy. So Kyle's probably like, I'll go in on her. I don't care. So he was just like, I know how you can be when you drink. So if you're saying all these fights, like he's being mean, I also know how you get, which I appreciate Kyle saying that. But Carl had never even known that Lindsay called him Cocaine Carl until he watched the show. So he said until the show aired. So then that's when my brain goes to, what if they didn't even call the wedding off and then they're sitting there married watching the season? He would be seeing her calling him that, and then Lindsay would like see him talking to his stepdad and mom about like, you shouldn't get married. Like, I feel like they'd end up in divorce watching all this unfold if he didn't call the wedding off. Like, it would be so awkward to watch these things. So then Carl said Lindsay accusing him of being on cocaine is very damaging to someone that has suffered from abuse. He said heavy abuse of alcohol and cocaine. And he's like, everyone up on this stage knows that I, really struggled for 3 years abusing those substances. And it's very damaging to somebody's sobriety and could cause a relapse, which is what I said a couple episodes ago. I remember I said, if anything to make you relapse is people like arguing with you, fighting with you, you being stressed out, but then her accusing him of doing it. Cause then it's like, well, screw it. I might as well just do it. So that's when that hits home, like for everyone listening, because they may know someone or have gone through that. So I do think it's disgusting of Lindsay to almost use that against him. And I think it's really comical and odd that she's like drunk and accusing him of being not right. It's like, you're not right now. So it's like, and then she pinpoint, as I say right now, she pinpoint that in the season. Remember, she's like, why did you say I'm sober right now? And he's like, Lindsay, because I am sober. I meant I am sober right now as you are drunk right now. Like, I hate that she used the right now, thinking he was like openly admitting on text messages that, oh, I'm sober right now, but I wasn't a couple hours ago. And I feel like if he was Cocaine Carl, we as viewers all would have seen it. And I just think it's really nasty that she said that. And then it's like, this is the person you're supposed to be marrying. But the one interesting thing that is also nasty, but I just feel it's not as nasty coming from someone you're supposed to marry or a spouse or a significant other, is last season, Kyle kind of outed Carl when he was struggling with Loverboy. And he's like, you showed up to work like on cocaine and you forgot your laptop and you dropped the ball like with the company. That was really shitty that Kyle did that, but I do just think it's totally different when it comes from your person, like Lindsay, and then like she wants to still marry him, but you're accusing him twice of being on cocaine. It's like, well, why would you want to marry him then? I feel like Andy was sitting there being like, I don't even know why you wanted to marry him. Like, we had to wait for Carl to call it off, and thank God he did. But then Lindsay, because Kyle was like, attacking her kind of again. And then Lindsay's like, do you just want to speak for me? You want to speak for me, Kyle? And he's like, no, but like, I want you to like stop, spinning these web of lies. But, she's in PR or was. So then that's how I can segue into, they talk about Carl's lack of career. But when you're comparing it to Lindsay's, they literally do the same thing. So that made me mad too. Lindsay had a career of PR, had her own firm. She just let it dissipate because she's like, you know what? I feel pretty secure on the show. I'm going to just ride the train because I could always pick the PR firm back up. But she stopped doing it. And all she does is the show and influencing. And then Andy was like, okay, and what does Carl do? And she's like, well, he does the show. And then Amanda whispers under her breath, and you guys make a lot. So they're the two highest paid ones, which is what I assumed and thought. The only other one I could see maybe getting the same as Carl and Lindsay is Kyle, because he really does give us a lot of entertainment. And he's always staying out late. He's like in the kitchen last. He's really giving it his all. And he's always putting everything out there. And I could see the three of them making the same, but it's come to know that Lindsay and Carl make the same on the show. They make a lot, and they both do brand influencing. So she's like, yeah, well, I made more. And I think that's rude, she said, because if we could do a tale as old as time and be sexist, how would women like for men to say, oh, well, I make more money than you? And that's always a put down when men say it to women. But I feel it's a put down when Lindsay's saying it to Carl. Um, because she's really like acted like all season. He just like sits on the like couch as a couch potato and like mooches off of her and does nothing. When even if he didn't do the influencing, he is making a paycheck on the show. Like some of these people, all they do is the show. Or definitely after a while, all they do is the show. Like on Jersey, Jennifer Aiden, yes, she is a stay-at-home mom, but like all her kids, if you could say, they're older, and once it's the school year, they're all in school. What if like Bill said, oh, you just mooch off of me? She could say, well, hey, I now make a paycheck on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, and I actually contribute. And then she does brand influence. But putting all that aside, like these people make paychecks on this show. So I was getting very annoyed as someone that is a stay-at-home mom and my husband is the breadwinner in the house. I wouldn't like it if he looked at me and said like, well, I make money and you don't. Like she couldn't even look at Carl and say, I make money and you don't, because Carl is making money. So I don't know why Lindsay needs him to have a whole nother career besides the influencing and show when she has left her career and she's just doing the influencing and show. And then Paige was like, you act like it's a significant amount that you both like, that you're making so much more than him, but it's probably like $20,000 to $30,000 more that you made in influencing, because they make the same on the show. And yeah, women I could see and making more influencing, and I feel like Lindsay is a better influencer than Carl. So she really can't knock him that he's not like making as much influencing as she is. And then Andy asked about the sober sports bar and all that, like all the careers that he threw up in the air kind of, and none stuck with Lindsay. And he said, yeah, actually, I would like to say that that is coming into fruition. And I have like a team and that will be happening. So I was like, you know what? Good for you, Carl. And Lindsay will be banned and she can't come in. And she probably wouldn't want to come in anyway because it's a sober sports bar and she can't get activated in there. And then I bet once it opens that he will carry the non-alcoholic lover boy in there. So then it'll segue into all that. So I just really feel like everything Lindsay was saying was not painting her in a good picture. The only thing she can grasp at a straw with is that Carl blindsided me and I am just so upset. But even Andy was shutting all that down, which I loved. So then they're bringing up Carl talking to his stepmom and not stepmom, I'm sorry, his mom and stepdad. And Lindsay really thinks that he used that combo to get out of the wedding. And Andy then wants to know how she was blindsided, because he was like, you guys had a conversation in the last episode, like the beginning half, and he said he was having second thoughts about the wedding. And then you even said, do you want to call the wedding off? But he's like, and he did say no, but he's like, I'm having, second thoughts. I feel like more so wanted to postpone it so they could really work on it and give it a shot and then be like, okay, well, we did give it a shot. And she was not having it with the postponing and whatnot. So then Andy wanted to know if he did pull the cord, mainly because the cameras were there and he felt secure doing it. And he said no. Like Carl said, he sat down at that conversation and he didn't think he was going to end it. And then Andy really did shoot down Lindsay's theory of he called production to set it all up. And he's like, I just want to let you know, as you all should know, that you don't get to decide what is filmed on the show. And that like there is no way Carl called, deliberately made them come, and that's like all that was said and done. He's like, because Andy is not a producer on the show. He just is for Housewives. So he's like, I just want to let you know that I called production and was like, did you know going there that Carl was going to call it off, and they said no. And he said that production went there and wanted to pick cameras back up because when they all were at Montauk, I guess they had like the explosive fight. Carl said how like, they like fought in the car and whatnot. Cause also like, let's hypothetically say there was a lot of footage that was filmed and we just didn't see it, but the production did. And they're like, oh my God, we got to do like a follow up to this intense fight. So that's why they reached out and said, Kyle and Carl, you go to lunch. And then we want to film Carl and Lindsay talking in an apartment because maybe production was thinking, oh, like maybe they'll fight on camera and we'll get like a juicy fight, or like maybe they could break up, but it wasn't like oh, we know because Carl called us, they're breaking up. Um, but like, I do understand why Lindsay feels like it was a little set up because she said that morning, she's like, do you know why production wants to film? She claims Carl was just like stalling and not telling her and like yelling at her. But it's like, I don't think production knows why, but I think Carl knows why. So that's in the back of his brain. And that's why he was like freaking out and then just like, I just got to leave and I can't look and talk to you anymore. But then, Amanda said that Lindsay was just really talking out of both sides of her mouth because she really was. Like, I feel like she was like, oh, I don't think he called production. But then she's like, but then I think you called production. I was blindsided. And Amanda's like, I don't even know how you were blindsided. I feel like everyone, including Andy's like, how were you blindsided when you literally fought all summer? Like, Paige and Sierra even said they thought Lindsay was going to call the wedding off. And Andy was like, me too. So everyone's like, how were you blindsided when you're calling him Cocaine Carl and you're screaming at each other all summer and putting his lack of career down and everything? So it's like, why did you even want to marry him at that point? That's what I want to know. It's like, why did you want to get married? So that's when Amanda's like, you're just talking out of both sides of your mouth because you're saying you're blindsided, but then you're fighting with them all summer. Like, how did you not kind of see it coming? And then Kyle was just calling Lindsay out for how she spun everything in the press. And Kyle said, that's why I'm upset with you, because Carl really had to take a beating because it was like in the press that he had like a mistress and he's getting somebody pregnant and like he's calling it off because he's gay and all this other stuff. And he was getting really shitted on because we hadn't seen the season yet. So she's saying she's blindsided. And we don't know that they're going to fight all summer because last summer they made us nauseous with their like lovey-dovey relationship. So, when they broke up in the fall, we didn't even know yet. And I do feel bad for all the backlash that he got. And I feel like if people were Team Lindsay, they maybe have switched since seeing the season. And it's like Carl had to call it off. Somebody had to, and she wasn't. Like maybe he was even waiting for her to do it. That's what I think. I definitely don't think he wanted to do it like obviously in the middle of summer because then it's like, how are they going to film the show? And he probably did want to. I feel like the summer was a test. Like how if we can't have fun and get along while we're filming our show and we're with our friends, then we're doomed. So then when cameras kind of went down, even though they did pick back up for the breakup, but hypothetically, like saying when cameras went down, he's like, all right, let's see if we can make it through. And they couldn't. And it just got so bad that he's like, you know what? The show's done. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And it's like, thank God you did, Carl. Thank you. I know no one could get their money back to stay at the hotel and she had to have her bridal shower. I do feel bad for her about that. That's a little embarrassing, but it's a lot better than having a wedding and then getting divorced like a week later, like a Britney Spears type thing or something. But then the funny part is, Andy said, are you seeing anyone? And Lindsay was like, yes, I am in a relationship and it's actually really serious. And it's somebody I went on some dates with like 3.5 years ago. And it just wasn't the right place and time, but now it is. And it's really serious. And then, like I said, the rumors of Lindsay potentially being pregnant, I wonder if, they are true. And it's obviously going to be with this person, I would hope, because she's the person she's in a relationship with. So it better be serious because if you're pregnant, that's pretty serious. But then Carl said he hasn't even kissed anyone or hooked up with anyone since Lindsay. And he just feels really terrible that he hurt her. But he really thinks that this was the best for her. and he wishes her well. So I feel like Lindsay had to be checked out of the relationship if, she's the one that didn't even do the breaking up with and she's already in a super serious relationship. Carl's the one that did do the breaking up with and he hasn't even kissed anyone. Now, granted, it's maybe harder for Carl to meet people because, well, A, I feel like it's hard for all of them to meet people. They're in the public eye. And then B, he doesn't drink. So some people would be like, no, and he almost brands himself as damaged. And everyone's like, I don't know why you feel like you're damaged goods just because you're sober. Like you're actually making the right choice. And it was nice that everyone was like, don't act like that's bad. And actually in the extended scenes, Lindsay says another thing, like using the sobriety against him, that, well, I called you Cocaine Carl because, what is sobriety to you? Like smoking weed, or like a week before we went into filming Summer House, you and I did mushrooms at a music festival. And then Carl was like, yes, we did mushrooms and that was my first time. And then immediately the next day I was like, I'm never doing that again. So I think it's pretty shitty that she just always uses his sobriety against him. Now, I will say, I feel like if you're going to be sober, you shouldn't smoke weed either. You should say, I am sober of alcohol and drugs, period. Like that California sober thing. Like to me, it's still something that is altering your like brain and everything. And you can then become addicted to that. I know, like, obviously, weed isn't going to kill you like cocaine and alcohol could, but you then would become addicted to that and perhaps, like, be lazy or not do anything, or I don't know, it affect your life and personal life and career. Because people that have substance issues just have addictive personalities. So if you're not being addicted to cocaine and alcohol, you're going to maybe be addicted to weed. Or it's like a lot of people like start smoking cigarettes when they stop having alcohol or drugs, and then they become super addicted to cigarettes, and then that's not good either. That could kill you. So I just think it is shitty that she's using it against him, but I, in like a 5% thing, side with her saying like, well, you're technically not sober. But it is just, I feel like Lindsay the whole time at the reunion was like, I'm sorry, but she was pulling a Sandoval. Like earlier in the season, she compared Carl to Sandoval, which was pretty weird and shitty because it's not comparable at all. I think she's Sandoval because like you're apologizing, but then you're saying but. Like, how about you just say, I'm sorry for calling you Cocaine Carl. That was disgusting. She's like, I'm sorry, but you're just always dismissive of my feelings. And it's like, just say sorry and move on, bitch. But then we get to the only really positive part of the reunion. Andy gets those scissors out and cuts Kyle's mullet off. Thank God we don't have to look at that mullet anymore. So they put in a little ponytail, and Amanda's like, oh, yeah, cut above the ponytail. Well, that was a serious mistake because it was so awful. It was like he went through a buzzsaw. He has like a little bald spot in the back. Like, obviously, he just got it cut super short and then it could grow back in the back, but at least the front looked okay. And everyone was like laughing and filming it. And then he turned around and Jesse's like laughing and he's like, Andy, never cut your daughter's hair, please. Because at the beginning they were like, oh, you put a ponytail in his mullet, like really good. And he's like, well, I do have a daughter. And then once he cut the hair, like Jesse Solomon was like, well, we know you have a daughter and you could put a ponytail in her hair, but don't ever give her a haircut. Oh my God, it was really bad. I got to make like a funny meme about it. But they closed out. Andy said, do you guys think, like Kyle, do you guys think you could all cohabitate in the house? And Kyle's like, well, like, besides all this, I feel like everyone got along because he probably doesn't want anyone to lose his job. But heck no, Carl and Lindsay aren't cohabitating in the house. Now, Sierra and Wes, they could, because my hope for Sierra is like some hot man, like the balloon guy came and hooked up with Danielle. We get like a hot party guest that hooks up with Sierra, and then he has to linger around for the rest of the summer, and then Wes can go cry in the corner because no one will want to hook up with him because of what he did to Sierra and him having laxative commercials. No one cares about you, West. I want you to feel a little pain, like not like a Tom Sandoval pain, but I want you to feel a little bit of pain for making our girl Sierra cry, because she is a catch and a half. She is drop dead gorgeous and she's down to earth. So he really shot himself in the foot and the face with that one, honestly, because I think he has branded himself as damaged goods. No one will want the likelihood of West in the New York City area. I mean, you always get clout chasers, but I feel like you won't want that because that'll get annoying. Then they'll just want to be on the show, and then he'll see what it feels like for people to use you for clout. But I feel like we ended on a good note. Yes, the gang current day is all in Italy minus Amanda and Paige. And I don't know if Sierra's there. But a lot of them are there seeing Andrea tie the knot. They did that yesterday. He looked dapper as always. Lexi looked beautiful. They got married in a beautiful church. So I'm sure everyone is having the time of their life over there. Hopefully we will see some little visits of Andrea and Lexi. Maybe she'll come too, the newlyweds. That would be nice for the season. So curious what they're going to do with Lindsay and Carl. I think, like how I've said before, they'll alternate weekends to keep them both on the show. But I will be honest, if I had to pick one or the other, I would probably want Lindsay to stay because at least she does get drunk and get activated. But if she's pregnant, she won't be getting activated and drunk, and that'll be kind of boring too. So I don't know. Maybe we shall see going forward if she is pregnant because she has not confirmed or denied it. So I'm waiting. Maybe she'll go on like a podcast or something and confirm or deny it. But I feel like this was a good ending. Curious how Sierra and West will act with each other going forward on the show and in real life. And hopefully we'll see some visits from Craigie more. And then, oh, wouldn't it be dirty if we got Austin in there? Like, for Lindsay. Oh no, wait, Lindsay has a boyfriend. Well, let's say they break up. What if like he came back, made an appearance? That would be dirty. But I feel this was good. And then I will, so this is my bonus episode. And then on my Tuesday episode, I will have a guest and we are going to talk all things Jersey. She knows some of these people. She has some receipts about all the Teresa drama with the bloggers, and looking forward to get into that. That'll be a messy one. So make sure you grab your glass of wine or your friend, or you listen to that while you're like in the gym hitting the punching bag because it's going to be a doozy. As always, this was so fun, and you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify and Apple. Till next time, see ya.